Thanks for joining us. This is Allies for Racial Equity pre-General Assembly 2019 info video. We have several special guests here today, including Mary Byron from the Commission on Institutional Change and Shelly Tochluk, who will be a workshop presenter and available at General Assembly to sign books in the UUA bookstore, as well as Kia Bordner from DRUUMM, Diverse Revolutionary UU Multicultural Ministries. And along with me, Lori Stone-Sertosky, part of Allies for Racial Equity's Leadership Collective. I am joined by Laura Bolletino in Michigan and Carolina Crevart-Graham in Phoenix. They serve as the co-coordinators for General Assembly, for ARE's presence at General Assembly this year. So I want to thank you all for joining us. It's possible that Cecilia Hayes will join us later, and if she does, then we'll certainly honor her and let her talk as much as she can. She's our General Assembly Planning Committee liaison, but we know that she's very busy in these last few weeks prior to GA, and it's possible that she won't be able to join us today. But go ahead and stay tuned, maybe even subscribe to our on our website. You can subscribe, and we will update you if we get any information from Cecilia that we need to pass on prior to GA. So I want to start by talking with Shelly, my friend Shelly Tochluk, who has been super helpful to my formation and has given me some good opportunities to collaborate with people in Los Angeles these last few months, particularly with the Babies and Bailouts action that we did with Blue earlier this spring. I want to really thank you for supporting us in getting connected to local organizers there, Shelly. So we're really excited that you're coming to GA and that you're collaborating with us. And I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about what you're bringing to General Assembly this year and what you've been learning, and a little bit about who you are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Shelly Tochluk. I use she and her pronouns. I just want to thank you so much for including me in this conversation today. I'm really excited to be coming to UGA this year. What I'm trying to bring is a bunch of resources and ideas. Basically, I want us to be able to expand our reach to get as many white folks involved in anti-racism as possible. And I think right now there are a couple of factors that are driving me. A lot of more will be explained about each of these during the workshop that I'm going to present, which is going to take place from 4:30 to 5:30 on Thursday. But the first thing is that I am really aware of all of the amazing work that a lot of UU folks across the country have been doing to build awareness among white people, build solidarity partnerships with folks of color, particularly taking up the actions around engaging around white supremacy culture. And I also know that there have been a bunch of white folks that have tuned out and have decided that they're turned off by a lot of that and the disconnections that have occurred. And I have some ideas about the dynamics that may have led to that and be prohibiting folks from finding their way back into engagement. And so what I want to do is be able to talk about some of those disconnections and how to re-engage some of the folks who've pulled away. And also, simultaneously to that, I've been spending about the last year really looking closely on the way that white nationalists have been developing some really dangerous and really effective recruitment tactics. They're having a lot of success, and it is a lot closer than most of us will imagine, and it's more complex than a lot of us probably even realize in terms of their tactics. And I think it's really essential that we understand the similarities, the distinctions, and the linkages between the white nationalist versus the white supremacist, the alt-right, the light-right, what makes them similar and different. But I do think that they are all ultimately working together to pull moderate people, specifically moderate white folks, away from anti-racism, or those who would normally be our targets for inclusion are getting pulled in that direction. And so what I've realized is how important it is for us as white folks to do something about this. And I think that it's actually really good opportunity to re-engage white folks who might have been a bit resistant to do some of the personal work that's required for confronting white supremacy culture, but they might still be able to be engaged within a standing up against hate mechanism. And so ultimately, what I'm hoping to pull into GA is a real conversation around how this journey of anti-racism requires a diversity of tactics, and that this is one that we probably haven't explored enough in terms of all the possibilities for organizing and action. So I hope that we'll be able to connect at GA so we can explore what more each person can do in their own community, both adults and youth. I'm only going to be there on Thursday. There are 3 ways to find me on Thursday. I'll be at the ARE booth during the morning and the early afternoon. I'll then head to the workshop, which is from 4:30 to 5:30. And then after the workshop, I'm going to head straight to the UU bookstore within the exhibit hall, starting probably from about 6 and moving on until 7. So I do hope to see you and meet you and connect. And thanks again for allowing me to be a part of this with you.
Lori, you're muted.
Thank you. You know, it's so funny how you talk about how we need a diversity of tactics and how some people who maybe are feeling like unengaged or unable to kind of get motivated around this work, that's this deeper level work, might be able to at least stand up against hate. And we noticed that in LA. We actually had people who would prefer to go to a counter protest than do engage with the post-conference institute that we did, and we found that very fascinating. And so, but we still ended up having a lot of, I think it was more like looking at yourself is hard to do, and that's what you have to do in the institute, but then standing in a protest is apparently easier for some people to do. It terrifies me when you're thinking about people who, you know, like who would show up at Charlotte in North Carolina. It's very terrifying, but I'm glad that there's people who can do all of those things. So, and Shelly, I'm really appreciative that you're coming and that you're making yourself available on Thursday. I want to, you know, GA this year is going to be pretty different as we understand it. It's a smaller GA. It's in Spokane, Washington. It is, we are exploring this theme, the power of we, and so the format is a little bit different. We have fewer workshops and more large group activities. And Mary, my understanding is the Commission on Institutional Change is going to be play a big role at General Assembly this year. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you are expecting to be doing there with the commission and what ARE members need to know about how to engage with the work you're doing, what you need from us?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to say the commission is so pleased to be collaborating with ARE because we know that you are key partners in getting the transformation of our faith done in the way that that we all want to see that vision happen. So yeah, there are 2 large theme-based conversations this year, which are really to get at the heart of what is the future of Unitarian Universalism and what is our faith. And the Friday afternoon theme conversation is going to be led by the commission. So we plan to give an update on our work and the impact that we're having already from the recommendations that the commission has been making over the last 2 years that we've been doing our study and work on dismantling white supremacy in the association. The Ministers Association, the UUA, Loretta, which is our religious educators professional organization, are all making changes based on the recommendations that the commission has been putting forth. And so we're going to get an update on what some of those impacts have already been. We're going to talk a little bit about what we see as our final year of work. So the commission was put in place in 2017 at the GA then to run through GA of 2020. And so we'll be wrapping up our work at that point. And so over the coming year, we're going to continue to do a little bit of data collection and then mostly be focused on what are the final recommendations going to be coming from the commission. So as part of our Friday afternoon data collection work, we also have a survey for all GA participants, and it's about the anti-racism work that's happening in your congregations. It's going to be really important if all the ARE members would please fill that out, encourage other people to fill it out. It's going to be in the GA app, but we really would appreciate as much response as we possibly can get to that. And then we're going to be leading the first of the breakout group conversations on Friday afternoon. And our session really is focused on how does the power of we deepen our faith as a source of liberation and transformation for all? And together, can we build a common vocabulary, share perspectives on institutional and cultural barriers to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then share stories? And so the questions that we're going to be asking are, what sustains you and your faith community in efforts towards inclusion, equity, and diversity? What limits you from living out our faith's promise for liberation and transformation? And then what should we expect of ourselves and one another as we living out our covenantal relationships? And that's really going to be the focus of the Friday afternoon conversations. We're also going to be on Saturday helping with facilitating the small groups. So if you don't know about the small group theme conversations, everyone's going to stay with the same small group, hopefully Friday afternoon, and then into Saturday morning, where the theme conversation is really going to be driven by the board. But the commission is going to be helping to facilitate both Friday afternoon as well as the Saturday morning small group sessions as well. And then on Saturday afternoon, because we believe that anti-racism work is deeply embedded in, it is deeply grounded in our theologies and is a spiritual practice for all of us. So we have a session called Centering Liberation Through UU Theologies, which is Saturday from 1:30 to 2:30. And that workshop is really going to focus on the liberatory potential of UU theologies. And so we'd encourage people to come to that for a little bit of, how to do this work as a spiritual practice. And then other ways the commission is going to show up at GA is we're going to have office hours. DRUUMM is giving us a little space in their booth on Thursday. Thank you. And so we'll be there Thursday from 1 to 7, and Friday from 3:30 to 4:30. If you need to reach out to the commission with any particular questions. And then we are also, as part of our last piece of work, conducting a racism audit of the UUA. And part of that has been, we've hired a company called Visions Inc. to help us do that work, looking at all of our policies, documents, procedures, as well as conducting focus groups. And so the commission put out a blog post, which is posted at the uua.org website under the Commission on Institutional Change. There's a sign-up link there for focus groups that will be running on. Most of them are on Thursday. I think some of them are on Friday. So if you'd like to participate in a focus group as part of that process, we would welcome you doing that as well.
Thank you, Mary. Are those focus groups that you're going to be running at GA similar to the ones that people did online? Or if people have already participated, should they still participate in the ones at GA?
Yeah, these are going to be different. They're asking a different set of questions.
Okay.
They're asking a different set of questions than the ones that we conducted over this spring.
Okay.
So they're set up differently. There's they're gendered. They have different groups and configurations that they're going to be running the focus groups in. When you go to the sign up link, it will give you all of the different choices for what particular kind of focus group you might be interested in being in.
I understand. Okay, so that sounds an awful lot like caucusing.
It is a little bit like caucusing with a facilitator.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Thank you for letting us know. And I just to make it crystal clear, it's okay to participate in the focus groups at GA if you've already participate in online focus groups?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, just wanted to make that real clear. Thank you for that. So I want to go ahead and invite Kia, our counterpart in DRUUMM, Diverse Revolutionary UU Multicultural Ministries, one of the co-coordinators for General Assembly, DRUUMM's presence at General Assembly, to go ahead and, I guess, let us know what's going on with DRUUMM this year and how you want ARE to be showing up with DRUUMM, alongside DRUUMM. What can we do to be present for you at GA, or to leave you alone as needed? So,
Right.
So Kia, it's good to see you, my friend.
Hi, how's everybody doing? So first of all, well, thank you for inviting me to talk about what we're going to be doing at DRUUMM. At DRUUMM this year, we really wanted to embrace the theme of the power of we. And for us, that played out as intersectionality. And so while historically the space that DRUUMM holds at GA is a POC only space, basically a caucusing space, this year we are opening it up at multiple times to some intersectional caucusing in groups. So we're actually going to be starting out with a special event where we are sharing space with our white, POC, trans, non-binary, genderqueer siblings. We're going to be doing a theology of survivorship on Wednesday, the 19th, from 5 to 6:30 with J. Mays III. And so we're going to open the space up and have, but very intentional. So it's not just open to everyone. It's still a caucus space that some part of that identity that I just listed needs to be part of your identity. And when we're then after 6:30 and that event winds up, we are going to actually have an in-gathering worship led by J. Mays to really dedicate it now as a space for people of color in the faith. And then later on at GA, our Saturday evening, we are hosting a Power of We worship service, and we are going to be welcoming all to this particular worship service to really encompass that power of we and that inclusivity. We figure that by Saturday night, hopefully everyone has had opportunities to be in spaces to caucus based with what we are programming, with what the commission has got offered, and Trust and Equal Access and many other organizations. And then to come back together and share that. We've all of us often have to answer the question about why caucus space is important, and how come if we're doing this anti-racism work, isn't it better if we do it all together? One of the really important things for UUPOCs to have caucus space specifically is that often the congregations that they attend or the areas in which they live, there may not be a great population of other UUs of color for them to get together to talk about their struggles or their joys or their concerns. And so times like GA, Finding Our Way Home, and where DRUUMM is really trying to roll out more caucus space at district and regional assemblies so that POCs don't feel completely lost out there and alone. So that's, for us, the most important part of being able to provide this space, is so that people can feel like there's others to connect with in a space that is, we don't like to use the term safe because safe space is really difficult, but at least in a space that they feel comfortable. And that's actually part of what the relationship between DRUUMM and ARE is, to help us to maintain a level of safety in that space. I know in the past, ARE has helped to kind of, I don't know what word I want to use, but to help us maintain. Discourage non-POCs from coming on into our space that we have dedicated to ourselves. And I know that this year there will be a little bit of confusion about the fact that we're opening it up and then closing it down and then opening it back up. So that really is a place where we rely on the partnership between ARE to help us to maintain those boundaries and that caucus space. And, you know, the other thing that we have, the asks of ARE, we tend to have our booth space next to each other because, again, there's a partnership, and so there's this give and take of helping with different things that come up at GA, or if, you know, many of us on the steering committee for DRUUMM wear multiple hats within the UUA, and so we may not always have members to staff our booth, and so covering, you know, that space for us, and really to help field some of these questions, because while it seems like it is a simple question to have to deal with about caucus space, for some POCs it is a lot of emotional labor to have to constantly answer the same question, to feel like we're under attack. Some people come and they're genuinely curious. Other people come and they're very angry about why are we doing this and why can't they see what we're doing, and all those issues, that it's nice to know that ARE is there to pick up and do that emotional labor for us. So, you know, those are the same kind of the relationship that we've had. We just want to maintain that. That's our ask, is that we know that you have our back, and we really feel that, I mean, there's no question from us. We've seen it. Actions do speak louder than words. And I tell people, you know, if you really want to find the white people in this faith who are really putting their money where their mouth is and really are supporting the POCs of this faith, go talk to the people at ARE.
Oh my God, I'm like getting weepy.
Well, thanks, Kia, for letting us know what's going on with DRUUMM, and it sounds like you guys have a full schedule of great programming for the people of color who will be coming out to Spokane. So in the time that we have left, I'm going to turn it over to Laura and then Carolina to talk a little bit more about what ARE is doing and what we're going to be bringing this year to this General Assembly in the Northwest. Laura.
Okay, thanks, Lori. My name is Laura Bolletino, and my pronouns are she, hers. This is my first year as a co-coordinator for GA, for ARE's presence at GA, and also my first year coordinating ARE's booth at GA. There's a lot going on at our booth. In fact, if I had known all that's involved at the booth, I probably wouldn't have signed up to coordinate it. Oh, that's right. Actually, I didn't sign up. I was voluntold. So in past years, the booth was mostly about educating people. This year, we're still doing education, but we're also, you know, handing out resources, that sort of thing. But we're also going to be doing more collaborating, meaning that we're able to have deeper conversations at the booth with people who are already engaged in anti-racism work. And we'll get to talk about the elephant in the room. Shelly Tochluk, as she mentioned, will be at our booth for some of the time. We will also have some fun activities going on at the booth, like a white supremacy scavenger hunt with mystery swag. Ooh. So with all this cool stuff happening, you'll definitely want to visit our booth. And more important, you'll want to sign up to help out at the booth, because you don't want me to have all the fun. You want to have some of that fun too. So to sign up, you go to our website, that's uuare.org, and then at the bottom, you click ARE at UUA General Assembly. And then there's a two-step process to actually sign up. First, you click the sign up to volunteer with ARE link. That gives us your contact information. And then after that, after you submit that, there's a link that comes up that takes you to the Sign Up Genius to indicate the times when you'd actually like to volunteer. So please do that. It'll be a lot of fun. And if you do volunteer, it won't necessarily be for staffing the booth. We will have some other solidarity actions that we'll be engaged in. And now I'll turn it over to Carolina to talk a bit about what those are going to be.
Thanks, Laura. And thank you, Kia. And I wish, I so appreciate some of the training that Kia and I have done together, where we, I think, have really experienced the power of caucus space, and that in doing this work, especially when it's hard, that it is just more effective when white folks are in one space doing white folk work and people of color are in another space doing their work. I think that's just, so I'm kind of excited about that there seem to be so many opportunities to caucus. So there are going to be some special asks we have of you, and we never know exactly what they're going to be. But I think the way you said it, Kia, is we may need to help manage the drum space a little bit, like to really get some clarity around that, you know, when it is open and when it is closed. So we've done that kind of work in the past. There are often other incidents that happen at General Assembly where volunteers might be asked to go and escort a person of color who would like an escort through a thing, and a lot of there's a lot of chaplaincy work. I'm actually very, very excited. We have this year we have 14 people coming from the Leadership Collective, and 6 of them are going to be designated chaplains. And those chaplains are going to be, they're really for 2 reasons. And one of them is that sometimes when we do this work, we get kind of a little bit beaten down. It is very, very, the emotional labor is really hard, even if you're white, right? And so they're going to be there to support people who are doing the work and getting maybe a little bit down and need a little bit of more than a pep talk, a little bit of pastoral care. And then there are other people who are struggling in resistance, right? And I think that chaplaincy can really, really help those people. And I think some of Shelly's work is kind of really, really overlaps with that, right? Is how do we hold people who are not, you know, whole hog on the train, or haven't quite had the opportunity to learn more or do more or experience something that others have. So there will be a variety of roles to play, and no worries. There's not going to be any pressure, and there's not going to be any voluntelling. If you are, you know, not comfortable doing a particular role, then that's fine. You can be in the booth and hang out at the booth and have all the fun along with Laura and me. So, I feel like I'm missing something. Lori, are there other roles that I'm just kind of missing? Because I don't have my list here, and now I feel like I've missed something out.
Well, the big thing that we have going on at General Assembly is the ability to practice living in uncertainty and massive amounts of flexibility. So what that tends to look like is best laid plans puts Laura and Carolina and others in the booth at a particular time. And what we may do, like we've done in the past, I do recall Mary Byron even helped us in the past when we've had to step away from the booth to handle an emergency. And so sometimes the volunteers will be asked to almost serve as a you know, holding down that space and making sure that people who are coming with their questions get connected to the people that need to be connected to. And then also just being prepared to be called upon to help. So I really appreciate that from Mary in the past. One thing I've noticed at our booth it's almost like a communications hub for anti-racism work now. We're getting more and more workshop facilitators when they experience this resistance that Carolina talked about in someone who's attended one of their workshops. They'll actually say, hey, you need to go to ARE's booth in the exhibit hall and basically get schooled, which I find fascinating that they actually show up at our booth and say, I was told to come here. But they do, and it's just like, so if one of us are not there when that happens and you don't feel comfortable taking on that, then you take down their information and you get them so that we can then follow up with them. Or you can field the conversations too. A lot of times these are people who are just stumbling upon like an anti-racist space, and they said something that kind of got their nose put back into joint, by the facilitator. And then the facilitator says, hey, go talk to ARE. They'll help you understand why you were wrong here. And when they show up, it's just some really basic conversations that need to happen with folks around, why are we using this term white supremacy? Is it, this is a faith community. Why are we saying these scary things? And to help people understand about why white supremacy culture is something we're talking about these days. That's a big one. And also other things like microaggressions and just some one-on-one conversations. Listen to people, talk to them, find out where they are in this space, and help them move to a space where they're, either less harmful or more effective in their allyship.
So I just remembered what I forgot. Yay me. Advocacy. In past years, we have had people who are ARE members who are dedicated advocates for let's say, a congregational study action issue or for an action of immediate witness. A little birdie told me that there might be a really, really powerful action of immediate witness coming. And I'm not even going to say what the topic is, but there are several groups that I know, including ARE, who's really, really interested in advancing that action of immediate witness, for short as AIW. And then there are going to be still UUA business sessions. Although they're going to be less, they're still going to be there. It's really important that that we who have a little bit a counter-oppressive perspective and a little bit of an analysis are in those rooms to advocate for or against things that serve a less oppressive and more liberating Unitarian Universalism. So if you're a delegate, there is a little checkbox if you're going to be a delegate or if you think you might be a delegate, please check that, because we might be asking you during your volunteer time to go and be an advocate, because what's really frustrating to me is Shelly's workshop is the same time as the workshop that Lori is going to be a facilitator in. We're doing a workshop on consensus decision making, and there's like 2 other really awesome workshops I also want to be in. So we're going to try and figure out how to maybe get some of this stuff live streamed, because otherwise we all going to miss everything, which will be sad. So hey, that could be another role. You might be sent to live stream something. So volunteer. There are really, really, really cool prizes in it for volunteers, and etc. So I think that's kind of it. Did we miss anything? Does anybody have anything they want to just kind of like add or punctuate or ask a question or whatever?
Oh, I really just highlighted a couple of the DRUUMM events at GA, so anybody can check that out on our Facebook page, or we can get a copy of our little promo material to you or Lori to get that out to anyone who's interested, POCs who are interested.
Thank you for that. So as we close up today, I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to just do a round of survival tips, beauty tips, that kind of thing for General Assembly. There will be some people who watch this video who it's their very first time ever coming to General Assembly. And I think all of us maybe have done this before. So if you have a tip, a trick, survival, something you would want to put into someone's, I wish I had done it this way the first time I came, what would you tell a first-time GA attendee or even a seasoned GA attendee about how you get through the week? And I'll go ahead and do this with call style. So I'll go ahead and start, and then I'll call on someone, and then that person calls on someone, and then we'll wrap this up. So my biggest tip is to stay in the closest hotel. Because sometimes the headquarters hotel is not the closest hotel, like this year. And I have to walk through 5 buildings to get over to the convention center. So that would be my biggest tip. Although at this late date, you probably already have your hotel room. So I would say my second tip is to bring multiple layers, because it'll be hot outside and then it'll be cold and freezing in the rooms. So if you have like a throw or a pashmina or a jacket, a hoodie, bring it, because you never know when you're sitting for an hour at a time and you don't get to move too much, you can really start to get chilly. And I will call on Kia. I know you have a lot of good remedies.
Well, actually, this is a great moment to say that on Wednesday from 2 to 3 in the DRUUMM space, we are actually having a workshop called Navigating GA as People of Color, where we're going to have the POC Survival Guide to the UUGA. But my number one, this is only my second GA, but my number one piece of advice is hydrate. Hydrate, hydrate. Take water everywhere. Make sure that you have access to snacks in your bag, because every one is different as far as where there is access to any kind of food to get through the day. So, but hydration is key. And I am going to call on Mary Byron.
Thank you. And actually, I would have said make sure you bring your water bottle as because that's so important. So, but the other thing I would say is you don't want to miss a thing, right? But the days are long. And so pace yourself and make sure that you give yourself every day some debrief time, because you're going to take in a lot. And so you just want to make sure somewhere in your schedule, you're giving yourself a little bit of integration time, maybe debrief with a friend or someone else who's there with you, because otherwise by the time you get through worship on Sunday, you're completely spent. You might be anyway, but this might help you a bit.
And Mary, who would like to go next? You want to let us know?
All right, I'll call on Laura.
Okay. Well, my big tip would be sleep every night, eat a decent meal at least once a day or so. And I'll just echo what Mary said about, there's a syndrome that I call FOMS, which is fear of missing something. And the fact is, you can't do everything, and just try to make peace with that. Go to things that look good, and make sure that you take some time when you're not, trying to do something, and rest, relax, especially if you're an introvert, it's going to be important. And I will call on Carolina.
Sorry about that. So y'all are taking all the good stuff. So I'm gonna be a little funny, a little snarky. I have a GA mantra. I am a smoker. My GA mantra is caffeine, nicotine, sugar, and salt. And that is, I live off of cigarettes and coffee and Fritos and sugar, chocolate, something kind of thing. But that is not what I advise. The last 2 years I have, I've been a couple years more than that. I have been ARE's GA coordinator. And the last 2 years, I did a reflection right before GA and said, we really need to find balance. And I think ARE is very, very committed to the praxis model of doing things. So that kind of encompasses what a lot of people have been saying. If you can, if you're a grid kind of person, put 25% of learning, like education, 25% of action, right? If you're going to go dancing or something like that, 25% of reflection, and 25% of everything else, including the relationship building. I know a lot of us don't want to miss workshops, and I think I cannot stress enough what an important moment GA is to reconnect with some people that often we haven't had any time all year long to see. So give yourself some space to do that. Most, bigger events are pre-recorded. You can, if there's only that time, you can miss out on opening celebration. Allow space for really the big relational piece as well. Because if you miss it, you're going to regret it. That's all I can say is when I have put kind of like other things in front of opportunities to connect with people more deeply, I have regretted it every time. And that leaves Shelly as our closer. Shelly's going to close it now.
So my top tip would be to go through the entire exhibit hall as early as you can, but keep your wallet in your pocket. And only after you've gone through it the whole time and thought about it, then go back with your wallet to buy the things you want to buy, but don't wait till the last day because the good stuff might be gone. And by the way, lots of great holiday gifts going on at GA. So I buy and keep them for many months until it's my holiday time period. That's it.
That's awesome. So thank you all so very much. We really appreciate you coming today. And we look forward to working with you in person and continuing this collaboration and growth. Want to really thank everybody for showing up here today and sharing your wisdom with the members. Carolina's got the little elephant in the room. So we're definitely going to be talking about the elephant of white supremacy in the room this year at GA. So bye-bye, everybody. Thanks.
See you in Spokane.
Yeah, see you in Spokane.